Hi, I'm Liselle Sambury and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things writing, traditional publishing, and a little bit of reading. And this is the October vlog. Hopefully you can see that my bookshelf is appropriately spooky for the season. And yeah, I'm excited. You know, Halloween is my favorite holiday, and so, which is maybe not surprising as like a writer that does horror books, but it is. So I'm really excited. I did all my little decorations, and yeah, just looking forward to it. I wanted to read a little bit more, but I've been like, it's not even that I'm necessarily slumpy. I've just been like having difficulty kind of like zeroing on books. So I haven't started any like horror books yet this month. I started reading a thriller, which is While We Were Burning. I started reading that, but and I'm like 70% of the way through. So that's at least close. With a thriller. But anyway, so writing wise, this month I will be continuing to work on writing the second book in the A Mastery of Monsters series, which is my dark academia fantasy that's coming out summer 2025. And so I'm going to be continuing working on that, and I'm going to update on that. But before that, I have some exciting stuff about A Mastery of Monsters to talk about. So the A Mastery of Monsters cover was revealed. I'm so excited. I will pop it up somewhere. Maybe I'll lean slightly here so I can pop it up on the side. So yeah, the cover has been revealed. It was illustrated by Tom Roberts and designed by Greg Stadnick, who's designed the Delicious Monsters cover and the Tender Beast cover as well. So yeah, I'm so excited about it. It is different than my other covers. Up until this point, I've had all like people covers, so covers with people on the front, which I absolutely love. Like, I will never tire of seeing a black girl on the cover of my books. I love that. But I did really want to try something new and like try like a more symbolic cover for like a new series. Just to kind of have like something, you know, something new and different to try out. And so I'm excited that my publisher was on board with that. And when they told me the illustrator, like they had gotten Tom Roberts, I was over the moon because he did the cover for The God Killer, and I love that. I think that cover is beautiful. So I was really excited. And just did such a like tremendous job with it. We did go through a few iterations of it. Like the earlier cover was looking, I thought it was super cool, but it was really horror. Like, it was really horror. And we definitely wanted something that felt like you could see it and you could feel that it was fantasy. And I feel like this cover really does that. You know, I feel like the birds, the throwing knives, well, the one bird, the throwing knife. I also love the like monstrous bird shadow. I love that like you have the like pretty bird, but then you have that shadow that's kind of like, okay, things are not like totally normal. I love the colors of it. I'm super excited about it. And just really excited to have gotten to share that with everyone. As of the time I'm doing this vlog, it hasn't been shared yet, but it will be coming out very soon. And of course, by the time this vlog is posted, you'll have already seen it. So yeah, I'm super happy about it. I'm super happy to have revealed it. This also means that pre-order links are available. So if you've been watching this and been like antsy to pre-order A Master of Monsters, you can now. I will have the links down below to go check that out. And you can like add it to your GOODREADS and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited. I still don't know if I'm gonna do any pre-order type things yet. I may do something. I'm really not sure. I have to kind of see what my publisher is going to do, but I do want to try and do something because I know that like conversion rate wise, it's a little bit pricier in Canada, and I kind of want to make sure that like Canadian teens can have access to it. And so I don't know if that will mean me like trying to like push with libraries more. I do usually make a donation to the book bank, which is in Toronto, and they like you know, offer books up for like, you know, kids in the area to be able to just come in and grab. So might end up doing that. But yeah, that's just kind of like the way the cookie crumbles. Like, the Canadian conversion rate is so rough right now. But yeah, I'm gonna lean more into the center now that I've talked about the cover. But we also did do that tagline. So this is actually the tagline that I came up with, which is academia is cutthroat enough without claws and teeth. And I promised before that I was gonna share all of the other taglines that I came up with, and I didn't do it in the last vlog, so I am gonna do it now. I'm gonna share with you all the taglines I came up with just so you can kind of see the process. I was honestly delighted that they had picked my tagline because if you've been following me for a while, you know it's kind of like usually like my titles that I come up with end up changing, and in this one I came up with a Mastery of Monsters and they kept it, or I come up with a tagline that there's like the publisher prefers kind of like a tagline that the team came up with or my editor came up with, which is perfectly fine because they're both very good at doing that stuff. But this time, yeah, they used the tagline I came up with. I'm like, wow, 2 for 2. So anyhow, so here are some of the, well, really all of the taglines I came up with. So this one was, enter the world of monsters, win it all or die trying. This one my friend actually came up with. Which was a degree in humanities and education in monstrosity, which I thought was fun. I think she like sent it to me jokingly, but I was like, I'm gonna put it on the list. And then he told her to run from the monsters. She didn't listen, which I do like that one. I like all of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pitched them. But anyway, because the worst thing that can happen is to like put something on a list to pitch it and you don't even like it, and then that's the one. I just feel like Murphy's Law, like that's the one that the publisher would end up picking and liking. So I never put stuff on this list. I wasn't gonna put stuff on this list I didn't actually like. This other tagline, she's done following the rules. Obedience is all he's ever known, and they can't win without each other. I thought that was a good like play on the girl and the love interest. You know what? I'm so sorry for people that are watching this vlog and have never, like maybe this is your first time here, you have no idea what I'm talking about with this Mastery of Monsters thing, except that I said it was a dark academia fantasy. So I'll pitch it to you now. So it's about a girl and her brother basically goes missing, and she suspects that this secret society on campus is responsible, and so in order to infiltrate that society she has to team up with a boy who is really months away from becoming a literal monster, and they have to team up to enter this deadly competition in order to basically save his humanity and to save her brother. So that is what the book is about. It's set on the Queen's University campus, which is my alma mater in Kingston, Ontario. And yeah, so now I will continue with the taglines. I'm sorry that this intro is so wild. Anyway, the next one was win the games, save her brother, and get out alive, which, you know, given the pitch that I gave you, it makes sense. And then the actual academia is cutthroat enough without claws and teeth. That was the one that made it. And then I have academia gets a little more cutthroat, which I actually used that tagline in the teaser video that I made to like tease the cover reveal coming. So it worked out, and I'll probably do that. I'll probably use that one a couple other times because I do think it's good, but it's not the exact tagline, which is kind of nice. And then this one, she'll break the rules in a world founded by them. This is probably the one I like the least. So maybe I shouldn't have put it on there, but it's the one I like the least. And then an education has never been more dangerous, which is perhaps a little too close to A Deadly Education now that I'm thinking about it, by Naomi Novik, which is actually a book that I comped, or like I said, for fans of when I originally pitched A Mastery of Monsters. I have not actually read it yet. I do not usually comp books I haven't read, but that one I felt confident that like all the pieces were there. So I was like, for fans of, but I do actually really want to read that one. I should probably try and read that one this month. Anyway, so those were all the taglines that I came up with, just so that you could hear all the different taglines. And now for the actual, like, the sequel that I'm drafting updates. So I'm working on the second book in the trilogy. The title has not been revealed yet, so I just keep calling it the second book or the sequel. And I'm about 75% of the way through the book, and I'm going to be done by the end of this month. So I'm very excited about that. This book, it feels like I've been drafting this book forever. And I know that I haven't. I think I've been drafting it for maybe like 2-ish months but it feels like forever. It feels like I've been doing it for so long. And so I'm pretty much like right on the money. I'm still on schedule to be done. The only thing is, like, on the final day, I do have to do 2 chapters instead of 1, but the last chapter is like an epilogue sort of thing, and so I feel like it's only going to be like 500 words or something. It's not going to be that long, so I think it's fine to tack it on. This does also mean that the long weekend that's coming up that I don't technically celebrate anyway, which is Thanksgiving because of colonizer stuff. So I'm just gonna work on that day. It's just because when we were traveling when I was traveling to Ottawa and Toronto, I had to take some days off that I hadn't planned to not write, and so now we're kind of just like down to the wire. So if I want to be done on a Friday and not have more work carry over to a Monday, I need to just stop at that point. So in this vlog, you'll see me continuing to draft the book, and then I also am gonna have a week to kind of just like read over the whole first draft. And I don't know if I'm going to do that in this October vlog or if I'm going to knock that over to the November vlog. We will see. But yeah, that's where we are sitting at for this project. I'm very excited. It's like feeling more real, especially as more like a Mastery of Monsters stuff starts to happen. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have a new series of books coming out. But yeah, I'm very excited about getting closer to the end. It is still a little bit messy. There are some things I'm gonna have to kind of figure out on the fly, but I feel like overall we're going in a good direction and I'm excited about finishing.
I wonder if I changed my number, would you wanna know? It's the coldest kind of comfort that we could talk but we don't. We spent summer swimming in a sunset haze, technicolor, crazy how fast it fades. Can't call you up when it's late at night, can't call it love but at least we tried. Can't call you a friend when I'm in my head on a downhill dive. Can't call you cruel for changing your mind. I still can't call it a waste of time. I don't know what to call you if I can't call you mine. Is it miscommunication? Silence in between. One more awkward conversation where we don't say what we mean. We've been distant, waiting on the ice to break. Can we fix this if we get out of our own way? Can't call you up when it's late at night, can't call it love but at least we tried. Can't call you a friend when I'm in my head on a downhill dive. Can't call you cruel for changing your mind. I still can't call it a waste of time. I don't know what to call you if I can't call you mine. Can't call you up when it's late at night, can't call it love but at least we tried. Can't call you a friend when I'm in my head on a downhill dive. Can't call you cruel for changing your mind. I still can't call it a waste of time. I don't know what to call you if I can't call you mine.
Remember when I thought this book was going to be 100,000 words? Remember that? We're at 98,000 now. We still have a ways to go, so it's definitely going to be 120,000 words, which I think is like the longest first draft I've ever done. I think my next longest first draft I did was like 75,000 words, and I think that was Delicious Monsters. That was the highest like first draft, or was a Mastery of Monsters already 100,000? I can't remember anymore. Maybe it was already 100,000. So anyway, we're chugging along, and very much helped by this amazing brainwave that I had. I couldn't believe it. I was lightly thinking about the fact that I'm now pushing towards the end. And what I originally planned for the ending no longer works. No longer works. And part of that is because of the thing that was supposed to happen at All Is Lost that I moved out to midpoint. But it was just kind of like I was starting to think that this confrontation of the big bad, there needs to be a bit more reasoning behind why this person. And I realized I just didn't have a good reasoning for it. And in some ways that's okay, because like there's a bit of like questioning of that for the main character, but in other ways I was like, this needs to make sense, and it doesn't make sense. And I was thinking about that, and suddenly this brainwave came to me. Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, Liselle, you're so smart. You're so smart. I was like, you're so good at this. I truly, like, the self-esteem was through the roof when I had this idea. And it's this idea, and it just fixes all of the problems. It fixes all of the problems. For one, it makes the, like, confrontation with Big Bad, not only does it make it more dramatic, more dangerous, more exciting, more interesting, but it also fixes all the character arc stuff. Because I felt like, and I had talked about this, I don't know if I talked about this here or in my little daily vlog things, but I was starting to feel like the character arc wasn't quite going the way it was supposed to be. And part of that was because I just realized that maybe it was wrong for the main character, but I also needed them to go into this big boss fight like 100%, like so committed, like on fire. And I just couldn't figure out how she would get to that point. I just didn't feel like she would feel that strongly at that point, and I was trying to get her there, and it was starting to feel unnatural, and I was like, I just don't know like how we get to this point. And that idea, it fixed everything. I was like, now I know how she gets to that point. It also helped me talking about Corey, that side character whose arc I had messed up. It also made it perfect for her arc. I finally like understood, like I could see the whole arc suddenly because of this idea. I could see everything backwashing from that, being like, okay, I get it. I get how it's gonna come together. It's just, everything was just perfection, and it's such a good setup for going into a third book, like going into the third book in the series. Like this whole idea, this whole event just like changes so many things. It's just so good. It's like perfect. And yeah, so that's basically where I'm at. At this point in like writing the rest of the chapters, I've kind of abandoned my plotting just because I know that too many things have changed at this point. Too many things have changed, and like what I have plotted and planned out is just so different at this point that I kind of have to abandon it a little bit as I go forward, because I'm planning so many different things now kind of on the fly. Like things that I was going to do, I decided not to do. Some things, like the thing with the second POV and the love interest, there was gonna be like a specific sort of like All Is Lost moment. It was like really, I'll be frank and say it was a third act breakup. It was a third act breakup thing, and I just didn't want to do it. I think that was something that I could feel very much was so formulaic, and I just didn't want to do it. So I've dispensed with that, no third act breakup, because it's just, it is not working. And then I do not know, though, totally what I'm going to do with the main character romance stuff, because that's also kind of like dropped off. I think that's been a real challenge in drafting this, is that there's so much. There's so much going on, and there's so many things happening, and there's so many characters. And I think it was perhaps even naive for me to think that I could address all of that in a first draft. I couldn't hold on to those threads while everything was moving. And so, I mean, that's something that's going to definitely have to be fixed in revision, tightening all those things up, completing character arcs properly. But I think at this point in the drafting process, I just understand that those things are going to fall off. It's a lot to get done. And especially when the plan is changing, because I can't necessarily shift the plan for everything all at once. But anyway, I think I'm in a good spot. I am definitely gonna get the draft done this month. So I have like 2 weeks left of working on this, and yeah, I'm excited about getting to the finish line. It's also kind of weird to realize that like this is the only book I'm gonna be working on right through to the end of the year. I've also become realistic with myself about December and time off, and it's just like, it's not gonna happen. Like, I will definitely be able to take a week off in December, but I think it's a little bit naive also to think that I could do the self-edit in 3 weeks, which is what I'd kind of planned out for myself, so I could take 2 weeks in December. It's just not gonna happen. I think for me, taking holiday and taking like time off, like I am gonna take a week off in December for holidays and visit my family and all of that stuff, but that whole thing that I like to do where I like take the full month of December off, not gonna happen. I think I could probably take like a good couple weeks in January once I've handed in my draft. But I do think I'm kind of gonna be working like pretty much right up against deadline, just because of the like massiveness of the book. And I've just kind of accepted that. It's the way it is. And that's the beauty of being self-employed, is that I just have to shift things around. So I will get to take a good significant portion of time off. And in January, I'm also planning to head over to Kingston to do research for this book, to research some of the new settings in Kingston that I've added and make sure that I'm getting all of that the way that I want to. So some of that time will be spent researching and what have you. But I also have some new things on the horizon too that I'm not going to be talking about until probably the new year when I do my kind of project overview. But yeah, feeling really good about the story. I'm feeling very, very good about this going forward.
Every night I try to love, but your heart is made of stone. All my tears, they fall like rain, yet you leave me here alone. I give you all I have inside. You pretend it's all pretend. Your empty eyes, they break me down. Will this torment never end? Endless pain, it's all I know. Hurt me more or let me go. In this game, my heart will lose. Change your ways or set me loose.
We have officially passed 100,000 words. I'm very excited about that. I don't know, it feels like a milestone. Even though 100,000 words was previously when I thought I would be done the book, I've accepted that it is just not going to be that short. I don't think it's going to be 120,000 words, which is the like new goal that I set up. I think it's going to be closer to like 115, something like that. But in any case, it just 100,000 is just such a big, round, even number that it feels worth celebrating. Being like, yes, okay, I've reached 100,000. And so that's really exciting. I'm just like feeling good overall about the direction of the book. And pretty much this whole fourth act, I've had to abandon my plan. Because so many things I like changed in my mind as I went on in the story, and like figuring out what to do with that fourth act, that brilliant idea I had, and all of these different things just like ended up happening. And so I was like, I can't, like, my plan that I have in Plotter for what's supposed to happen in these chapters is just like completely irrelevant at this point. And so I have been really pantsing To be honest, I was like, I guess that's what I've been doing, because I just kind of sit down and I have a general idea of what's gonna happen, and I don't have any solid plans, but I just kind of jot down notes of like, okay, I think this is where I'm going and what I want to do, and I think about it beforehand. And then I just go and I write it, flying by the seat of my pants. Which I don't usually do. Again, I try and have kind of a strict plan. And I can't think, you know, usually when I'm drafting, like the plan that I put in Plotter will at least deviate some, but I feel like this is the most it's deviated in a long time. And so, yeah, but somehow I've been able to kind of get things through and do the things that I want to do, which I'm happy about. There is, of course, going to be a lot of editing, but there was always going to be a lot of editing. And I feel like I'm saving myself editing by making these changes on the fly instead of like making myself stick to my plan that I know is not working. And so I feel like that's a very good way that I've been able to go about it, and I do think this is gonna work really well. So I'm really like, I'm pleased with how everything is going forward, and I'm finally getting into like the very juicy like big boss fight type thing. My brilliant idea has like thrown something like very unexpected into the works, and I feel like it's so good. Like it helps solve a lot of issues. It helps, yeah, it's just that brilliant idea of mine, just it's really worth its weight in gold. I cannot wait for people to read this book in like 2 years. But anyway, so that's going well. I'm really excited that next week will be my last week of drafting, and that I will finally wrap up drafting, which is like starting to feel a little bit surreal. It's so interesting because people are always like, oh, like, how do you write a book? How do you write a book? And I'm like, I honestly, like, my advice that I can give is, you know, try and be as consistent as you can, whether you can write, you know, 500 words 3 days a week or 200 words twice a week, whatever you can do. If you keep adding words on a consistent basis, you will eventually have a book. You will eventually reach the end. And yet when I do it myself, I'm always like so like pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost have a book. So I just find that funny. But anyway, so that's how the second book in the Mastery of Monsters trilogy is going. And I guess not really more sobering news, but submission-wise, I feel like I've really turned a corner. So on submission with my adult thriller that I'm trying to sell, and I feel like I have I feel like I had a hope uptick, and I feel like now I've just settled into a sort of acceptance, in that I feel like it is highly unlikely that this book is going to sell. I feel like I feel like it's kind of gotten to that point, and I feel like there's like a fine line between hope and delusion, and I feel like for me personally, as an author and at this point in my career, I feel like I'm not bad at kind of reading the writing on the wall. And I felt that way about when A Mastery of Monsters was on UK submission and we were trying to sell rights to the UK, which did not end up happening. And I just kind of feel like I'm getting that feeling with the adult thriller. I don't think it's going to happen. And I think the last time I was at that point of being like, this isn't gonna happen, I was really sad and I was really emo. I was really just like not feeling good about it. And I feel like the point I'm at now is just kind of like full acceptance. I'm just kind of like, I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult in its own way, but I feel like I don't feel sad about it anymore. It's kind of, you know, it makes me think there's like a song lyric where it's like, I didn't think it would be easy, but I didn't think it would be this hard. And I feel like that's kind of been how I felt from like a UK submission with A Mastery of Monsters through to this now adult thriller submission. Yeah, I didn't think it would be easy. But I didn't think it would be that hard. And I mean, it's a little bit rough, but I feel like I've just kind of like turned a corner and I'm just like, it is what it is. On to the next thing. And that's kind of all you can ever do, is kind of write the next book. And I think some things that did also kind of like comfort me is, I remember seeing on like Threads or something, some author had sent out a thread that was like, you may think these authors are like doing really well on the surface, but they're like, they don't have anything on contract for the next book or something like that, which I do have things on contract. Thankfully for me. But I think it just solidified for me that publishing is not like a traditional career in so many ways. It is not the sort of thing where it's like, okay, because I've been able to publish X amount of books, of course someone is gonna purchase my next project. And that's just not the case. And I feel like I saw that a lot in my debut year, honestly, where this like came to a point where a lot of us were trying to sell our next book and like get that next book on contract. And a lot of people were having the experience in which their publisher was not interested in their option. They weren't interested in the next projects they had. And they were then kind of pushed to be like, okay, I guess I'm on wide submission now, and may not necessarily have had any success with that. And I feel like that sometimes you see that gap between authors like book publishing, and sometimes that gap is like, I need more time to work on a project, or I'm burned out, or like, you know, I have a day job and I needed to focus on that and I didn't have time to get the book. And sometimes that gap is for whatever reason, my publisher did not want to buy my next book, and so I had to kind of figure out what to do next, and now I'm on wide submission and I'm trying to sell to someone else and I'm maybe not having success with that. And I think that's just kind of the thing about publishing, is it really is not that sort of like, I get to this level and then I keep going up and up and up. It's kind of like, whoa, all over the place. And I think I've been very fortunate in that I've been able to keep selling books and keep having a book a year come out consistently. And I think this is just one of those times where it's like, okay, it's my turn. To have a bit of a setback. Not that I've never had setbacks in my career, but I think, but this would be the first time that I was not able to sell something that I put out, which, you know, in the past I've always been able to sell something that I've put out. But yeah, it's kind of just like, for me, I'm in it is what it is sort of phase. And I've got my kind of plans moving forward. You're going to get a little bit of a sneak peek. I wasn't going to talk about this until January, but why not? We're friends here. So my horror trio that I talked about, which was that set of 3 interconnected standalones, that I originally pitched to my publisher, and we didn't quite think the offer was kind of what we wanted, and so then I ended up pitching a Mastery of Monsters instead, which is of course what we went with, and our publishing. But I think what I would like to do is I'd like to revisit the first book in that trio. I'd like to make it a true standalone, so not interconnected anymore, just like very firmly can stand on its own. I'd like to replot it because I do think that I could make it stronger. And I'd like to, you know, just rejig that whole thing. And I'd like to write the full book because I'd submitted previously a proposal. I would like to just kind of like go through and do the full book and do that whole process. And I don't actually need to sell a young adult book until 2026, which is a ways away. So I'm gonna just kind of like slowly pick away at it. And I'm really, really excited. I'm feeling really enthused about jumping back into that project and like recreating it and remaking what I had into something that I think is better, and like getting to write that actual full book. and I'm feeling really enthused and excited about that. And I honestly, that's where I'm putting my focus in terms of like thinking of the future. And I'm kind of shelving any kind of focus on adult projects because, yeah, I just feel like I gotta now focus on what I can sell for the future. So I want to prioritize my YA thing, but I will absolutely be returning to adult. I do not want to like give up on trying to publish an adult novel. I still absolutely want to do that, and I will absolutely be returning to, I think, you know, kind of writing a new book. I have some ideas percolating. If you've seen my video where I talk about kind of like future things I want to write, I have been thinking very heavily about the Slug book. I've really been pondering on that, and I absolutely want to write that. So yeah, I think I'm just kind of in the phase in which I'm looking forward. I'm looking into like new writing projects that I'm enthused about and I'm excited about. And I'm really just like completely shifting focus from submission. I don't know when I'll give you guys another update about that because I'm kind of like, I think I'm mentally done with it. And I've moved on. So yeah, I guess if there's any kind of final updates with that, I guess that I will let you know at some point, or maybe I'll include it in my little end of the year wrap up because we're getting pretty close to that too. So, but yeah, anyway, that was my update, and I will see you again, I guess at the end of next week.
Cold nights and colder days, living in the shadow space. I guess I never find the light, living in this endless night. Promises I never keep, whisper lies when I'm asleep. Lonely, I'll just sit and weep. Love me now or let me leave. Endless pain, it's all I know. Hurt me more or let me go. In this game, my heart will lose. Change your ways or set me loose. Endless pain, it's all I know. Hurt me more or let me go. In this game, my heart will lose. Change your ways or set me loose.
And we're finished. I'm so excited. The draft is finished. There's a first draft of the second book in the Mastery of Monsters series. It is 115,000 words, so not 120 like I thought, but certainly more than 100,000 like I originally thought. So I'm all done the draft. I'm very, very happy. Of course, the whole fourth act is like very messy, but I feel like overall, considering like the full scope of the book, I do feel like I'm pretty happy with it. And I can see the places where it needs a lot of fixing. But I'm also like, I feel like I accomplished a lot. And like certainly more than I originally, not as much as I planned, but more than I think I could have done, given that it was like very ambitious. It's a very, very ambitious first draft. So I'm pleased with what I have put together. And so that's really good. I'm glad that my really good idea has like fixed a lot of things for me before I've even started to edit. So yeah, it's very nice, and I was able to finish a couple days early so that I can have like a bit of a 4-day weekend before I jump right into working on editing the book. So that's really nice. But I'm overall really pleased with it, and I think I've had some like good kind of revelations about character. So specifically my main character. And bear with me because I'm gonna make a bunch of anime references. But basically something that I had decided to do for this book is I wanted to do a negative arc for the main character. So the way that I usually do my character arcs, they're positive character arcs. So it means that the character has some sort of like misbelief about the world and how the world functions. And they are putting through, they're doing things based on that misbelief. And then over time, they come to realize that that thing they've believed this whole time is actually a lie. They grow, they do better, and you know, things proceed as usual. And what I wanted to do with this second book is I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to do an arc in which the character kind of doubles down on that misbelief, and kind of sticks to it, and therefore things kind of don't go great. So that's what I wanted to do instead for this second book, because just kind of the way that I wanted to storytell and like really like kind of push myself to do something different, because I really like, I always do positive arcs. And I wanted to do things a little bit differently. But I don't have like a ton of examples of like negative arcs in books that I could think of kind of off the top of my head. And so of course I started thinking about anime. And I think I really kind of hadn't quite figured out how to do it. So the way that I had planned the negative arc to me was very like, it was a little bit too Eren from Attack on Titan sort of thing, like you know, a thing where like you start being like just like betraying people and like doing terrible things. And I mean, even in the anime, I was like, I wish I could see that internal journey, because it feels like it just kind of like shifted suddenly. And I mean, I was on board with it because it makes for a very interesting story. But when I'm writing my story myself, I was like, that isn't working. Because it just kind of made the main character suddenly become like a kind of shitty person. And I just don't think that works. I think I had planned for that because it felt really like dramatic and like intense. But in writing the character, I was like, this isn't really her though. This isn't her character. And you know, she has a whole thing in the first book where of course she like pushes people away, and she like does some like things that are intentionally shitty, but that's kind of not something that she's necessarily like wholeheartedly doing on purpose. And I couldn't see that being her thing. And I think that's why I kind of struggled and started changing a lot of things on the fly with her arc, because it just didn't fit. And then I started thinking about My Hero Academia, because a new season came out and I was watching through it. And I thought about the Dark Deku arc. So this whole thing, Deku as a character, like, he really wants to be a hero. This is his whole thing. He wants to be a hero. And so at a certain point, he becomes very burdened by this idea of wanting to be a hero, and he starts to feel like he has to save absolutely everyone, and that he has to do this on his own, not with other people. Like, he just has to, like, by himself be like the greatest hero. I'm really like paraphrasing the nuances of this arc, but anyway, that's the whole thing. And so it's a negative character arc, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, it is, because he has this misbelief that he needs to save everyone and he has to do it by himself, and that is what's driving him. And he's doubling down on it. He's really sticking to his guns on it. He's like, this is the thing that I have to do, and he becomes progressively more kind of like beat up and downtrodden, and that's kind of the whole thing. And I was like, that is a negative arc, but he doesn't become a shitty person. Because at his core, like the core of who he is he wants to be a hero and he wants to help people. It's just like he's doing it at the cost of his own personal kind of well-being, and like taking it to this extreme and like rejecting like friends and happiness and all those things, and like focusing in so hard. And I think that is more what I should be going for in the negative arc for the character, because I don't want to, I feel like the shittiness that she had going on is like a first book shittiness thing. And to me, in the second book, if she just carries on in that way, now I'm just repeating an arc that I already did. So she already did shitty stuff and learned to be better. And so she can't be doing the same thing but worse in the second book, because to me that's so annoying. It's just the same arc, and I want to have different arcs for each book for that main character. Sometimes in books they have an arc for the main character and they're working through that same arc for the whole series, and I don't like that. To be honest, I just find that boring for me personally, and like my writing journey, I just don't want to do it. And so realizing that about the My Hero Academia thing has really helped me kind of reframe things and like reframe how I'm thinking about doing a negative arc. And so I think, yeah, that's something that I've now come around to. And so, yeah, I feel like I have a better idea going into this edit, and so I think things will go a lot better because I really already have so many things I already know that I'm going to do. So I am ending this vlog early. It's not quite the end of October, though if you'll see the thumbnail, I will probably use some October spooky themed photos for it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the vlog here. What I have to do left in October is I need to read through the whole book again. And so I'm going to do that. And then in the November vlog at the beginning, I'll be able to kind of like share my thoughts from reading through the whole book. And then I'll just jump straight into planning for the self-edit and like doing the self-edit. And so I think that's how I'm going to do things. Just to give me a little bit more of a break, a little bit more time off after writing this book, writing this giant chonker of a book. I just kind of want to give myself a little downtime so that read through time, if I don't have to do any filming or anything, will be a little bit more chill for me. So that's my plan. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this month. And I will be seeing you again next month. And of course, if you didn't know about this, I had been doing a series where I basically every single day that I worked on the book, I did like an update about the book, and I have a whole playlist for that. It was originally meant to be a TikTok series, so they are like vertical videos, and I did a compilation for YouTube. So if you want to see from day 1 to day 48 and update every single day that I worked on the book, you can check out that playlist down below and see that if you're wanting to get something really in depth as opposed to the writing vlog. And some great response I've had to that series is people like being excited to see all of the various ups and downs. And I summarize those things in writing vlogs, but it is a little bit of a different experience to see the like actual day-to-day. So if you're interested in that, the playlist is down below. And if you like this video, if you can please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.